So you are a qualified counselor, and so you also pursued a Master's of Science in Psychology and Neuroscience of Mental Health with King's College. So what is the difference, or what are some of the differences between counseling and psychology?
Well, you see, my own personal background is rather, broad. My first degree is in English literature, and then I got a master's in linguistics from the UK. And I taught for a while, I worked in television for a while, and then I worked on health research as part of my own interest because I had chronic illness. I almost finished a PhD in health research. And then, life has a way of sort of turning you in different directions. Unfortunately, my marriage sort of fell apart, and going through the divorce, I realized I didn't really want to slog on with the PhD, but I felt drawn to counseling because in Singapore, you can't do counseling formally, as in like work formally with individuals and provide counseling help unless you have the master's in counseling, right? Or at the very least, the clinical psychology, the master's in clinical psychology. So I had neither, right? So then I began the course in counseling so that I could then gain access formally to people who needed help. And so that was a big switch for me, I moved away from the PhD, the health research, but in a way, I've used some of the skills and the knowledge that I learned there in my counseling as well when I work with chronically ill individuals. What is the difference between counseling and psychology? Well, to me, counseling is really, when I did the master's in counseling, it was strategies, it was understanding how to help people in relational conflict, it was working with individuals who needed help. It was not psychology based in the sense that if you study psychology, what you're going to study really is the mind, the brain, and behavior, right? So counseling itself, you don't need to have a psychology degree to study counseling. Counseling actually sort of, the master's in counseling prepares you to work, if you like, with individuals who need help, but you don't necessarily need the psychology background to do that. But having said that, why am I doing the master's in science in psychology and the neuroscience of mental health with King's College in London? Personally, for myself, I looked at my counseling course and I said, yes, this is going to be my gateway to working officially, right? I can now put up a shingle and say, trained counselor, qualified, according to the local requirements. I've done it, I've got the master's, I can work with you. But when I looked at my own background, I thought to myself, as part of my bachelor's back in 1980, whenever, I did English literature and I did a little bit of psychology, because I've always been fascinated by psychology. But, if you just do a little bit, you don't have that depth, right? And so I found during COVID and this whole, being stuck at home, I thought to myself, I loved the learning that I got during my counseling course, cognitive behavioral therapy, working with the individual, working with couples, working with children, working with groups. What are the strategies? What are the ways that you can help? But I looked at it and I thought, I haven't done enough to really understand the brain, the mind, and how it's connected to our behavior and where the feelings and emotions got to fit in the whole picture. So I went online and I looked and I said, I want to study something else that's going to fill in the gaps in my knowledge. And I chanced upon this course and I thought, I nearly fell off my chair because it was perfect. It had all the psychology elements to it. And then it had the delicious neuroscience elements that suddenly appealed to me. I was a bit of an art student, but actually I'm one of those who switched from the sciences to the arts. So when I thought, gosh, I haven't done biology in years. Can I do the neuroscience? But I found it fascinating because now I was looking at parts of the brain. I was studying, synapses and how they fire, what goes wrong, when things don't happen properly, how mental health issues can arise due to the structural, I hesitate to use the word deformities, but it could be deformities or failure to function properly. And so it was really adding to my knowledge and my understanding of what some of my clients might go through. What happens to the brain when you're depressed, and how do the medications work, the pharmacology side of it. I'm moving on to, I did units or modules in techniques in neuroscience, the physiology of the brain. I'm moving on to psychology and neuroscience of addiction, of depression. A whole bunch of fascinating things await me, more knowledge, but knowledge that I can see a direct link to my work. So I feel it's plugging in some gaps. Now, if I had studied psychology at university, let's say, as my first degree, would I need this master's? Maybe not. But then again, I do have classmates, we have classmates all over the world because it's online, really long distance learning. I have got classmates here in Singapore who actually have degrees in psychology, but they're still finding the neuroscience part of it, the depth that they get there, they're enjoying that part of it. So I just felt for myself anyway, it rounded out my training, rounded out my knowledge, was directly relevant to what I'm doing. And I just felt that it would make me a better counselor, So to me, it's about drawing on my experiences. It's about drawing on who I think I am as a person, the innate skills that I'm told I have. I like to believe I have. But it's also about constantly learning and upgrading and, getting the skills and the knowledge, really. I am one of those perpetual learners. So I find the knowledge base, growing that is useful.